Hope you're doing good. Micah back with another video. Back here to talk about the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus 24 hours later. And it's crazy when you just allow that time to settle in to really not just ponder, but to really appreciate after the pondering Samsung's effort with the Galaxy S24 series this year. This phone has surprised me in so many different ways. It's not even funny. The phone is so fast. I mean, that's the first one. That's one of the things I want to get out of the way right out of the gate is the speed and performance of this phone, particularly the speed. We'll get into performance later. I usually go into developer options and, you know, speed up my phone via the duration scales for animator, transition, and window. I had to turn one of those down. I kept the other ones relatively fast, but I had to turn it back to the general one-time speed instead of 0.5 times speed or half time speed because it was too fast. I was missing animations. I don't like that, right? I actually admire and adore the animations that the OEMs put their efforts into when it comes to the phones, and I've never found them to slow down the device. And with the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus and the series overall, I can probably confidently say it was too dang fast. I had to adjust that. I had to had to bring that back down to reality, and it's still fast. That is how much Samsung has put into the phones this year. And I know the hype is always around the Ultra model. I've rocked two Ultra models, the S22 and the S23 Ultra. And I would have been very prime to get the S24 Ultra this year had I not been daily driving an iPhone 15 Pro. And because this is really kind of challenging that seat, because I am keeping both phones, there's no trade in here. I got this phone to rock alongside the 15 Pro. The 15 Pro for me is really used alongside my iPad because that's kind of the flow, my workflow that I'm working within right now. But to have a device like this to really truly rock. Now, SIM card rise is going to be a little tough trying to swap my numbers probably. So we'll see from that perspective. But having a second number for this and really rocking this phone, I have been in complete enjoyment. As you guys can see there, I'm at 49%, 55 degrees out where we at. The widgets, I actually find to be pretty decent on here. I don't like that Samsung took away within Good Lock, and I guess you could say the lock screen app, if you will, the ability to truly adjust the clock because I like my clock to be a little bigger than that. Switching to this clock, it actually smaller. If you go the horizontal clock, you can actually resize it to be a little bigger, but that's the biggest you get with the horizontal clock. I don't like that. That's one of those things that I wish Samsung didn't take away within the software is the ability to adjust that. But I'm wondering, is it because of adding the widgets this year, or in other words, with One UI 6 and fine tuning it with One UI 6.1, which I'll have a video on shortly after this? Is that the reason why they took that ability away? So that's one of the things I didn't like, but it's something you can easily overlook when there's still clocks you can use that look really nice, and to be able to now have the very feature that Apple pioneered when it came to the always on display. Apple was so late to AOD and yet instantly revolutionized it with wallpaper display. And the fact that it took Android that long to end up basically having to copy Apple for that really kind of surprised me because this is one of those situations where you wish Android stayed on top of the game and not fumbled the bag, so to speak, with other little things that really didn't do anything for the Android software. And all it took was Apple to sit back for what, 7 years before implementing their own AOD. And this is the always on display that we get now. The one area where Apple is winning, so to speak, when it again they're actually winning overall when it comes to the lock screen. But I can only have 15 wallpapers for my lock screen. Apple allows 50. So just a quick preview of my S24 Plus versus iPhone 15 Pro video to come down the line. But we need more effort from that perspective from Samsung. Now they're leading the pack because I don't even believe Google allows that with their wallpapers and their lock screen. At least Samsung is putting forth effort, but they've been slouching off in the Android world, which is partly why I kind of wanted to make the switch just to see how far has Apple really come in terms of software. And Samsung is showing me, even despite how super solid this phone is, One UI 6 and One UI 6.1 is doing things, but specifically 6.1 is really kind of centered around generative or intelligent or advanced intelligence, AI, so to speak. So they didn't really put that much more oomph into other software features. So unfortunately, you kind of miss out on that. But I definitely hope that with One UI 7 or even iterative One UI 6, point X updates, that they add some more gumption when it comes to the nuances of the lock screen and how we use our phones overall. Speaking of fast, as you just saw how fast that fingerprint sensor is, it is mind-bogglingly fast. Now, we don't have the same kind of Face ID that Apple has, right, for their tech, but it's also likewise fast. And that's one of the things I also truly appreciate about this phone is that the biometric security works very well, works very fast, and mine's set up similar to Apple. So if I show you guys real quick, if I turn that off, I double tap, I bring my eyes in. See, even though it's unlocked, I wait to swipe to then open the phone. You see how smooth that was? I remember even during the S22 Ultra days, sometimes that swipe just felt a little laggy in response to actually unlocking the phone and transitioning into the home screen. But with the S24 Plus, I have not experienced nothing of the sort. And to really kind of cap off software, as you see, I'm only using, what's that, 8.4? I'm looking behind the camera here. 8.4 out of 12 gigs. Now, of course, if I opted for the smaller S24, I'm probably somewhere around 5 to 6 gigs out of 8 gigs. So it's going to handle RAM management a little different. But for the S24 Plus, haven't had no issues with apps opening and closing on this device. It is truly been an eye-opening software experience, both in terms of very good things that I've seen, and then in weird ways I've seen in comparison to kind of diving into Apple's iOS ecosystem of software management and how there's still some catching up to do in the world of Android, specifically with Samsung. So that's the software. I didn't think I was going to really go that far when it comes to the software. But as you guys saw with the fingerprint sensor, crazy fast. That means that I think it's supersonic or ultrasonic. That kind of hardware is needed for a device like this. And it shows. You're going to need it because this phone is also relatively nicely sized. 6.7 inches quad HD, which is not on by default. So just to reference back to the software real quick, I wish they turned that on by default and allowed you to find it to go back in, because if you're going to tout quad HD, default it for users so that way they don't come out second guessing your screen quality when they probably didn't even think to go look in the settings, as most average consumers don't, right? They really don't play around in the settings. Thus, this is where we come in as creators to kind of show them how to use their phone. But turn that on by default. And the last software feature I'd like to mention is with One UI 6.1. If you come in here and go into notifications, there's one more feature that actually ended up getting turned off. And if you go into notifications and advanced settings, down here at the bottom, manage notification categories for each app was turned off. I didn't like that either because it gave you the granular controls you needed over what notifications you received from your apps. You had total control from that perspective. Instead of trying to have to turn the entire app off, you can just turn certain notifications from that app off. And I turned it back on, so it is still available. It just turns it off for whatever reason by default. And the last software thing I promise I will mention in this video is they changed the sizing of the Google bar. So it's actually evenly conveyed I'm trying to find a better word, evenly positioned within the gapping, so that way it meets an app icon fairly. So before, it used to be lowered in the gapping. It was lowered in its, you know, position, and it looked a little wonky, but now it's even, and now it looks nice sitting alongside an app icon. Something that I also like there as well. What, again, there's so many great things to say about the software, but there's also things that, could use room for improvement with the software as well, including widgets. But as I said, that's enough for the software. Hardware wise, we talked about the fingerprint sensor. I love it. Something I hope that actually Apple brings over to their devices is the return of the fingerprint sensor under display. What else about this? The S24 Plus may not be made out of titanium rails, but it did not stop them from giving us matching matted tones for the rails that have thus far been very pleasing to hold on to, and avoids fingerprints in the back. Also, for the most part, avoids fingerprints as well. The front has Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which premiered on the S23 Ultra last year. The S24 Ultra has Corning Gorilla Glass Armor, which is even stronger than this. And the Ultra benefits from 75% reduced glare, which is absolutely amazing. I almost would have just got the phone just for that alone, and the S Pen. I do feel like they did tweak the glare a little bit with the S24 Plus, but it's nothing like what you would experience on the S24 Ultra. So hardware wise, beautiful, amazing. The cameras are great. I love the cameras. I love the ability to use them and how you can switch between your camera options there at the top. So with the S24 Plus, we have a 50, a 12, and a 12, I believe. So with the main shooter, you can only switch between the 12 megapixel bend option and the full-fledged 50 megapixel. But be able to switch that in within settings. Again, you can change and actually add a 2x option, which is what I did. I believe it's through Camera Assistant and or the camera settings, which may take you to Camera Assistant, but it is what it is. Cameras have been great so far, just with small things I've shot. Beautiful device. Now, as I mentioned to you guys, up here, you guys see I just dropped down 1%, 48% in a span of 13 minutes or so since I've been recording. I fully charged this device around 1 o'clock this morning. So 1 o'clock p.m. is 12 hours, and then it's 6 o'clock, or another 6 hours from then. That's 18 hours. 18 hours, I've only lost 50%, and I've been using this phone all day. Still opening apps, making sure those are straight. I've been casting to YouTube fairly all day from the S24 Plus on purpose, and it has been just fine. Now, I do like to use Bixby from time to time. I haven't noticed that affect the battery in any way, shape, or form. I like this phone. This phone is really, really good. But the one thing I did not expect was I'm still also very happy with my iPhone 15 Pro. Despite really liking it, the unison it has, the unity it has with the iPad Pro, of course, I very much so appreciate that symbiotic relationship. And even if I had a Samsung Galaxy tablet to match that here with the S24 Plus, it would not be enough for me to switch on a daily from that perspective. But the phone itself is still giving the iPhone 15 Pro a run for its money because of how much I've been enjoying being back with Samsung. I know it like the back of my hand for the most part. So even though it hasn't quite curbed my enthusiasm for the iPhone, it's trying. And we'll see as the days continue on whether or not I'm still there with this phone. But I can confidently say this phone is giving my iPhone 15 Pro a run for its money. So those are my quick initial thoughts 24 hours later on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus. Be on the lookout for the One UI 6.1 breakdown of those features. I think they're very good, especially with the AI assist features. We're going to break those down. And I'm going to do a comparison between this and the iPhone 15 Pro, the ultimate showdown to start 2024 off. So if you guys are into that, as well as reviews and accessories, make sure you guys hit the like button. It's free. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. And hit that notification bell. It's also free. That way you never miss my videos. So that way you and I can sit back, chillax, see what's cracking. But your man Micah signing out. And until the next video, Thanos, I am inevitable. Wait for